Hey there, welcome back to Farmcraft. I'm John, and this is a white oak tree. We are on the edge of my property. These power lines are right near the line, and of course the power company has a right-of-way here. And they came by last year and they absolutely butchered this white oak tree. Now, I see there's some mushrooms growing at the base, so maybe it was dying. I don't think it was dead, but I don't want to just let it go to waste. That's a pretty good log there, and I think I can get some good lumber out of it. And I have several uses in mind for white oak. It's a great wood because it's strong, it's hard, and it's rot resistant. And like they do, they also left quite a mess here. I think I'll clean this big stuff up and turn it into firewood. The smaller stuff I'll kind of sort so it doesn't look like such a, it looks like a bomb went off. Months ago I came by and I cut all the poison ivy. Those are all poison ivy vines. And since they haven't been attached for a long time now, that should not give me poison ivy. First thing I want to do, let's get this area cleaned up, and then we're going to take this tree down. There's a dead ash tree right here. I'm going to go ahead and push it down so I don't accidentally knock it down. And of course it landed right on a redbud tree. There you go, little redbud. Sorry about that. It always amazes me how productive these machines are. So all of that wood, I mean, that's a lot of wood. And then this pile over here, that's quite a bit of firewood, more than a cord. And then I stripped all the vines off of the tree. That's our driveway right over there. So there were pieces of the tree that had been, you know, kind of out into the ditch and kind of unsightly. So I pulled those all back and kind of mashed it down so that it'll, once it starts growing this year, that'll all just kind of disappear. I think that took like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's crazy. Anyway. After I get this tree cut down, I'm going to turn it into lumber on our sawmill, something that I do fairly regularly on the farm. Wood is expensive, and having the ability to harvest and work my own wood on the farm has been such an advantage over the years, but it's taken a lot of years to develop the skills to really be able to do this. Which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, Woodworkers Guild of America. They are the definitive online resource for woodworkers, where you can get instructions on techniques, project ideas, and really just about anything you'd want to know about woodworking. For someone like me taking rough cut lumber off of the sawmill, I've had to learn what the processes are to dry that lumber and join it and plane it and get it straight and perfectly dimensional to be able to make nice projects out of it. And all of that is on Woodworkers Guild of America. And even though I've been woodworking for decades, I always learn new things when I watch their videos, so it's even good for people that have experience in woodworking. From clever tips and tricks to instructions on complex joinery to the multitude of finishing techniques that are out there, pretty much you name it, they've got it. And taught by people that are experts, they really know what they're talking about, and have put together some nice videos to share that information with people. And the first 1,000 people to use the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. So whether you're a beginner or a highly experienced craftsman, you really should check out the Woodworkers Guild of America. It's a great community and a great way to grow your skill set. Now let's get back to work on taking this tree down. You can probably guess where I want this thing to go. Now it is a little muddy here, so I took some of the pieces of wood that I'm not going to use and just laid them down to try to keep the log out of the mud. It's better up there. There, I'm out of the line of fire. Now, the tree is not leaning this way. It's close to vertical, but it's leaning kind of that way, just a bit. So I'm going to take my time, make sure I get a good hinge. I think I'm going to do a plunge cut on it. The only thing I really have to worry about is that power pole. It's not tall enough to get the lines, but if it hit the pole, that would suck. So I'm going to make sure that my hinge is going to be in here, and I'm probably going to cut the center out, but it's the wood on this side and the far side is what's really going to keep that tree, you know, in the line that I want it to be in, which is right there. So as long as I make sure that far hinge is plenty thick and strong, the tree will not come towards this pole. All right, good wedge, pretty old tree, and the heartwood looks great. Even the sapwood isn't bad. Some of it's spalted a little bit, but I'll definitely get some good lumber out of that. All right, so now I need a back cut, and I want it about 2 inches higher, and I'm going to leave a 2-inch hinge probably all the way across at first. Then once I get the back cut done, I may reach in and take out the center, kind of cut that center out so it doesn't splinter when it falls, because I want this for lumber. All right, when I started my plunge, I realized early on I was angled too much that way. In other words, I was going into the center. I didn't come through, but then I looked at my felling line and I lined it up with where I wanted to go and got it here. I've left this back strap here. It came through the other side, so that would allow me to put the bar back in over here and then come back forward, you know what I mean, and get it right there. So I think I need to get that hinge a little smaller. I might leave it. I might just kind of go straight in here, like bar in, and cut out the center there, and also here, making sure to leave hinge there. Then take that back strap out and it might go. If not, I'll give it a push. All right, I'm gonna take the back strap. All right, I'm gonna take the back strap. Yeah. That's what I thought. That's why the excavator's there. I don't think I got all of the center, but I got most of it. So. That'll do. Yep, no splintering in the middle of that log. Very nice. So here's a look at the stump, and you can see I actually accomplished what I was trying to do. Sometimes it happens. So yeah, I had a hinge here. I cut the center out all there, and then another hinge here. So, and I had a good bit of heartwood there, and even more on this side. This was the important part to hold it from going basically towards that power pole. So I'm curious to see the length. I was hoping I'd be able to get 26 feet or a 14 and a 12-foot log, but now that I see where that fork is, it's lower than I realized. Yeah, I don't know. Let's measure it up and see what we get. So the log actually does measure 26 feet full length. So I end up doing a 13.5-foot log at the base, and then I'm able to get a 12.5-foot log that includes that fork. So it's going to produce far less wood because of that. So that is a pretty big log, and it's a little bit too big for the throat of this little mill. So you can see I have a little problem there. It's too high, and this whole thing comes out way too far. So in order to get my first couple of cuts, I'm gonna have to do like some notching with a chainsaw to make room so that I can get a slab off the top or two. And then when I rotate it, it'll be more that way. And you know, you can do it. It just takes a little extra work when the logs are big like this. Actually, I think that's okay, but that needs to come off. Put the blade on, and we're going to take that slab off of there and then rotate the log, and that'll give me more room. I may have to do a little more cutting to make it to the end again, and then after that it gets a lot easier because it's always going to fit. This is a winch used for rotating the logs. It actually works pretty well on smaller logs, but this log is so big, so heavy, it just kind of overwhelms it. If I really try to crank this winch down as far as it'll go, it ends up just bending the pipe that it's mounted to. So I have to use a cant hook in combination with the winch. I put tension on the log with the winch and then push with the hook, and I can slowly work it around. You can actually use the tractor to help with this too, but often when I try that, I end up shifting the whole mill, and it ends up not being on its supports like it should be. So these big logs really work you at the beginning, but once you get them squared off and you start getting lumber out of them, you get a lot of lumber out of one log. This would also be significantly easier if this was a pine or poplar log. It is surprising the difference in density of different species. So I'm gonna make big boards for my corral out of this. I'm gonna mill them at 2.5 inches. They'll be a little bit less because of the thickness of the blade, and then they'll shrink down to like 2.25 when they're done. Big heavy boards. All right, so that's 2.5 inches, and I will mill this later into actual boards. Looks like I can get 2 of them. Here I'm sawing my first cant. A cant is technically a partially sawn log, but for most sawmillers it means a big hunk of wood that you're going to then saw your final boards from. This one is about 7 inches thick, so eventually I'll turn this massive slab 90 degrees and each slice off of that will be a board. Wobbling back and forth like that, I figured that blade was about to break. That's the end of that one. What are you doing, Dozer? Dozer, what are you doing? Look at your face. And now you know why this tool is called a cant hook. Don't be fooled by the perspective here. Each of those slabs is 6.5 to 7 inches thick. Those are big, heavy chunks of wood. Alright, we can finally get some lumber out of this thing. So here's my first 2 boards. I can actually do 3 passes before I have to take the boards off. And so we get 6 boards right here. So now we can process these slabs that I took off when squaring off the log. Each of these boards is about 17 board feet, and if you calculate that for the weight of green oak, they each weigh about 90 pounds. So 18. They're 13.5 feet long, they're 2.5 inches wide, or thick, and then 6.5 to 7 inches wide. So that was all just in the lower log. I still have this other log over here. I'll get some out of this. Oh wait, I forgot about that. Not done with that lower log. This is going to give me 7 more. So yeah, it'll be 25 in the bottom log, and that is a pretty big log. So I'll probably get another 10 maybe out of that, I would think. 35 boards out of a tree that was just left to rot. I'll take it. So a couple of those are really short. I'm not counting those, but counting all the long ones, including a couple that are thin. 2 of those are just 1.5 inches instead of 2.5. I come up with 13 more. So the bottom log gave me 25, this gave me 13, so 38. 38's my final count. This is my corral. It obviously needs some attention. So I built this thing around 2010 and I bought the posts, but I milled all the lumber. This was actually logs that were left over after we built our pond. So it was wood that I just had laying around and I wanted to do something with it. The problem is most of it was sycamore. It's just not that rot resistant. I knew it wasn't going to last that long. So we use this corral. This is their waterer when they're in this field. But there's like 4 sections here that we can use for sorting the cattle. And then over here is our squeeze chute. We use this for treating them if they need medical attention, but mostly for giving vaccines, which we do annually. So this is the squeeze tub. And normally I would have that gate open so I can drive the cattle into this area and then use the gate going around this corner to force them up into that chute. That is basically a one-way stop there. When they push underneath that, it swings down and then they can't back up. Like this board here is about to go, and that one actually has to take some weight because the cattle push on this when they're trying to back up. You can see how rough this has gotten over the years. That's about to fall off. And some have fallen off. So yeah, I've got to get this all fixed up so that the cattle, because they're anxious when they're coming through here. See, that piece is still nice and solid. Has lots of carpenter bees working on it. Yeah, these aren't too bad right here, actually. I don't think those are sycamore. I think those are eastern red cedar, as opposed to this. So a lot to replace in here, a fair amount to replace over here. A lot of work to do on this thing. And one mistake I made is I used these deck screws, which I use for a lot of things and oftentimes they work, but these big heavy boards is just too much for them. A lot of them broke off, they bent, and yeah, definitely need more of a structural lag for this. You know, I don't want to replace everything. If it can go a few more years and then get replaced later, that's the thing to do on a farm. You just kind of, you're maintaining everything. Trying to make it perfect every time it needs any work, you're going to kill yourself. There's too much to do. It's fine. That'll last another 10 years. I'm using structural lag screws. These hopefully are going to be strong enough to hold up to the movement. The wood puts a lot of pressure on the screws when it's getting wet and then dries, and wet and dry, freeze, thaw, all that kind of stuff. It moves, the posts move, and it breaks the screws. So hopefully those will hold up. That top board that I had on there actually wasn't necessary. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Cows are a little easier to work when they can't see through the fence, but my herd is pretty calm. The reason I didn't put any gaps before is because I had an excess of wood. I figured I've got it, I might as well use it, but now I've got much stronger wood. I don't think I need to do a full coverage up and down, so. That's not going anywhere. This is a great time to have this portable power setup that I've got here. This inverter ties into the 48-volt battery that the cart runs on, and it gives me 240 volt out for a welder and then just regular power, 120 volts to run my power tools. Really nice to have that mobile. I can take it anywhere on the farm and I can run anything that I want. It might not seem like much. Once you've had to fight that battle, this just is so nice. It's like Christmas every time I use it. Getting somewhere. This area right here is an absolute mess, and this is where they come out of the crowding tub and then they come up this aisle and into the head catch. So all of these boards need to be solid because the cattle are, you know, if they're going to be anxious and stressed, it's going to be here. So these have got to go. Oh, and we walk on these when we're working the cattle to try to push them in, and obviously those have gotten rather sketchy too. So pretty much have to rebuild this whole thing. Show you guys this thing. This is the one-way valve for cattle. So gravity pulls that down, they push underneath it, and it's not so low that they realize they can walk under that, so they push it up, and then once it goes up, it falls down like that, and when they try to back, it hits them right in the butt, and they can't back up. The calves can turn around and they'll get back out. Adult cattle are not able to back up with that. I need to take this off because this board, that board's got to go, and it's bolted to it. So let's get rid of that. This is a cattle check valve. Try not to get a hernia. So I had some big thick slabs that weren't long enough to be boards, and I found a good use for them because these could stand to be replaced. It's a piece of sycamore. To be honest, I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. That's not going anywhere. That is so much better than it was. So I was worried about this. These boards are a little too thick for the brackets. So I need to thin the boards down, but just in the area where the brackets are going to go over them. Don't do this. This isn't safe. That's not going anywhere. All right, that's it for the day. Quitting time. I had quite a lot more to do, but I did it off camera. You've seen what I'm doing. You don't need to see it again. I thought you guys might like to see the corral in action. So here's Jennifer and I, and we need to put ear tags in the calves and give everybody vaccines. So we're going to do the calves first. So there's 9 calves mixed in with the herd here, and we need to get them separated out. You can see we've got all these different fenced sections, so we can drive some animals into there. And there I just got 4 of the calves in there, so I can close that gate. And the central area actually allows any section to communicate with any other section, so it's pretty convenient for sorting. So we got to get this big cow out of the way. Go back over there. Close that gate. And now we can move the calves into the section right before the crowding tub. You'll see in a second. There we go, that's 4 of the 9. Now we got to get the other 5 out. And I just got lucky here. The calves were right there. I got 4 more. Easier than typical. So 1 more to go. So there's a little guy right there hiding in among all the adults. So we're just going to divide them up and kind of see which pen they get into. And the calf ends up going into this pen here, which is fine. Got one of the big ones out. And the calf is really sticking with that cow there. And 2 more of the big ones out. So now we just need to divide these 2. So I'm going to clear this other pen. And now we just need 1 animal to go through. It doesn't really matter which one. And there the calf went through. And we have success. 9 calves separated out from the herd. Moms aren't too happy about it. But they'll be back together soon enough. We're just going to give them their first vaccines and ear tags, so that we can identify which calf belongs to which mother. So to get them into the head catch, we open up the crowding tub gate. And then you want to drive just a few of them in there. You don't want too many. So I cut off 3 here, drive them in, and then use the gate to push them up into the alley. Now calves can be a little tougher than the adults, and I have to get in with them to really kind of push them up the alley. And occasionally they'll start freaking out and they'll come back at you. So here I pick myself up and let one come underneath me, but we get one into the squeeze chute, and then we can treat it. So that's kind of how we deal with all the calves. Once we're done with the first one, we let him go, and then I go back and drive the second one up into the catch. And repeat. The drone died, but we did get some footage with a GoPro of doing the adults. So here Jennifer and I are cutting off 3 animals, and we force them down into the squeeze tub. and around into the alley. Jennifer's ready to close this gate, but two try to go in together, but we still get them. And then there's the automatic head catch. When the cow tries to push its way through that, it closes and catches its head. They don't like it a whole lot, but she's okay. Just needs a couple of vaccines and she'll be on her way. And with this next one, you'll see the problem that happens often enough with an automatic head catch. It doesn't always work. The cow tries to push through, but the catch doesn't close. Have to wait a little while, wait for her to make up her mind to give it another try, and then I'm there ready to make sure it closes this time. And Jennifer's giving her a little encouragement. Well, there you go, guys. That's enough for the corral for this year. I think what I've left here will last at least a couple more years, and then I'm gonna have to do something similar again, replacing the bad boards, and it'll just be kind of a maintenance process that we go through. Really nice to be able to get all this wood from a tree that was dying already. Well, essentially it was gonna die anyway because it got butchered by the power company. And rather than just letting it sit there and rot, turn it into something really valuable and useful. So, and I actually have quite a few boards left over, so really happy with this. Let's go for a little flight here.